So I get this question all the time, and I go through it and through it and through it, which is fine. But I thought I would actually just verbally put this all in one video. So, breeding a pair of bettas. So, from start to finish, here's what you're actually going to do. And granted, yes, on my page and stuff like that, I will post things here. I'm going to actually start making a lot more videos and stuff, too, as I go through this whole next swath and everything. But, start to finish, you're going to precondition your bettas, which I have a video for already on here, but since we're doing start to finish, you're going to take both male and female and give them complete isolation. You're going to have them so that they cannot see out. You're not going to have bright light shining or anything like that. You're taking them out of their home, wherever they are, or if you already have them in a 5-gallon bucket, great, your league's ahead. Leave them in there, that's fine, but you don't want all the distractions and for them to be able to exert all that energy going around. You want it to remain kind of small. They need to conserve their energy for what they're about to do. So you're going to let them sit in there. You want to run extra high level of extracts, whichever one you're using that they're used to. And if you're not using any, you really should be, but let's say you're not, then I have a bunch of extract videos on here that you will have to dive into, but let's just assume you're using Catawba or, Indian almond leaf, Catapang, all same thing. So you're going to want to run extra heavy on that stuff. Realistically, your water should look like a slightly darker amber versus an amber color. For this, you're going to want to also make sure that your temperature, if you're already not running this, you should be doing this anyways, but you want 82 degrees in those buckets. You do not want any less, no less than 82. It can even be 84, that's fine, but not 80, not 80, not anything else. If you're going for the biggest success, best spawns, best health, lowest aggression, all that stuff, this is what you're shooting for. So you need to be getting them all buttered up, so to speak, so that when they are introduced, they're speaking the same love language. Otherwise, that's where you just get a bunch of mess, which you should not actually be experiencing. Like, you legitimately shouldn't experience that. So anyways, you're going to have them in their water. You're running about double the extracts, whatever you're using, or let's say you're starting from amber, great, then just increase it by a little bit. You're going to want to use a pinch of salt. I recommend pure sodium chloride, not sea salt, because I don't like the mineral contents in the sea salt, even though it's very low. They certainly, back-to-back, if you test it, will find it very aggravating in comparison. You'll see a lot more side effects from it that you didn't realize you were seeing before when you switch. So I would use that, and basically you're going to do water changes every 3 days. And yeah, you're going to keep them slightly covered. You can use a piece of paper so some light can get through, that's fine. Then you're going to be power feeding, and this is kind of a tricky topic because each beta is a little bit, different. So for me to give you guys an amount would be impossible. But what I can say is you want to have as frequent as possible meals. Let's say you're doing 3, fine, that's good. Let's say you're doing, 5, that's good too. If their systems can, digest everything as fast as you're feeding it, great, that's cool. Don't do flare sessions during this. Don't do anything. You can, but honestly, I'm going on what I'm recommending you to do. So don't do anything. Complete isolation until it's time and they're ready. Then you're going to do this for 2 to 3 weeks. Just keep power feeding and higher extracts. Bucket, isolated, a little bit of light. That's all you're doing. Pinch of salt. That pinch can even be, I'm not getting too nutty with it because honestly it could be a small pinch, it could be a big pinch. Your bucket, by the way, you want to fill up to about 3.5 gallons for this. That too won't really matter that much, but don't fill it all the way up because once again, then they're going to take too much energy getting from the top to bottom, everything else. You're trying to get them to conserve their energy, and for the males, put on a little bit of extra weight, and then for the females, they're going to have egg production and stuff like that, so they got to be obviously cooked up too. And this is how you get spawns that are like, 300 plus each. There is no 50 spawn like this. You go. And if you're matching the water too, that I say, with the roadie water, which is another video, I've already mentioned it before. I can make another video today for you guys on this specifically, and where I'm at with that. And I've actually had the utmost success for a very long time. and I have tested it against like any variable you could, any variable you could possibly think of, any variable, including, you know, even down to like swim bladder stuff, like all of this stuff. It's really dialed in. So, anyways, though, like I said, that's what you're doing all that. So now let's say that you're 2 to 3 weeks, and you'll see too. If your female is really eggy, you're probably just fine. So, or let's say that you're already starting with a female who was ready to breed right away. Cool. Then you can do it for 2 weeks, a couple of quicks. It's fine. If it's taking her a little bit longer, fine. And this part is going to be something too. Like I said, it just comes from experience, and you really need to know and adjust what you're doing on this whole part for each individual beta. There is no way that someone can just one shot tell you this much, this much, this much, that much, go. It just won't work. It can't. So, anyways, so then you're going to get them in their breeding bucket next. You're first going to put the male in there. You're actually going to match the height of the water. You want the height roughly 6 to 8 inches. 8's a little tall, but you can do it. 6 inches is pretty prime. If you're doing 8, though, you'll have a little bit easier time keeping the water quality good. That's kind of pick your poison. If you want to start low, that's fine, and then work your way a little bit higher, whichever you prefer. It doesn't matter. But key is just try one of them. It should be in that range. If it is, you're in prime time, so it won't really matter that much. It's kind of like I said, just pick your poison. I really, really, really like putting a 2-inch by 3-inch square of Ziploc bag. You can cut the Ziploc bag so that it's only 1 layer thick, and cut it into, like I said, like a 2x2 or 2x3 or whatever square, and you put it on top of the water, and it'll just float there. And if you're lucky, the beta will choose that to build the nest on, if you're lucky. Then that way, when the eggs are actually being plugged up away in the nest, you can actually see it. Sometimes they'll make the nest in weird spots, and that's fine. But let's say, like for right now, I have like, what, almost 20 pairs going right now. So you're going to see some variables in there, but for the most part, you're going to see them. If they have the option, they're going to put it underneath the any only, the Katapa. I do recommend probably trying both for your first try, so that you can kind of get an idea of what your male is going to prefer, especially if you're going to breed him again, or you're just like willing to accept, like, okay, this will be my trial run to understand this boy. Now, for me, I don't really care because I have so many pairs and stuff like that, so I'll know anyways. It's all one big trial, each male, and I'll be able to adjust it as I'm going. But it's ultimately not that big of a deal because I'm going to be doing 2 rounds anyways, because your success on breeding these things will be on one go, roughly 50 to 60%. So, in the best of times. So, if you're doing everything properly, that's what you can expect. And the rest of them, you're almost surefire going to get to pop off the next time. It's very rare if one takes 3 tries. But then again, I have had 2 pairs out of all of them, though, that have taken 2, or 3. But on the 3rd one, I actually got great success. As a matter of fact, one of those ones is one of my best lines. But just the same, patience. Patience, be willing to adjust to what they want, and, you know, to what your male is going to favor as well. You know, honestly, to have a male that's going to eat all your eggs, if you're properly preconditioning and all this stuff, that's honestly pretty rare. You shouldn't have that many issues. What you will see is the female eating the eggs pretty rapidly sometimes, and that can be something too where, let's say you don't catch it and you're like, oh cool, then great. After they breed, if she's sitting there eating all the eggs, she's going to get pretty mad, and then that's where you can get some aggression that is warranted. That is something that you could have stopped but didn't. And then in that case, that's not what I would consider involved in the breeding process. That's literally like negligence of watching, which it's pretty hard to do. It's not like, oh, I forgot for 6 hours and now look, she's dead. It's like, oh, I left her for like 12 hours with breeding and she's getting, you know, eating all the eggs, and maybe he gets mad enough to be like, okay, I'm not doing this. But just the same, so you're going to put him in the bucket, you're going to put a pinch of salt again, you're literally just repeating the process, except for in your water, back your extract levels off to where it's just amber, not dark amber. And then you can do that and use a smaller chunk of leaf, or you can do no chunk, but like what I'm saying is, you can do this a million different ways, so I'm trying to consolidate it down to one way, because I ultimately, like I said, you have to adjust for all of them. I do it a bunch of ways, depending on who I'm breeding and all this stuff. I do it with extract in the water and only bags. I do it with extract in the water, leaves and bags. I do it with no extract in the water and just a huge leaf and salt. I do it with, like, there's a lot of ways depending on which males I'm doing, so bear with me on that one. I know it sounds probably pretty confusing, but you really do need to get a system down and watch, and when you get used to it, you'll legitimately get a feel for it. And then like I said though, it's okay, and I will actually show you guys too different techniques and stuff. I'll make some videos and show you guys, and like just so you can see like where did this male, I mean, I can even do some trials that I don't even care if they breed or not. I'm just like, oh yeah, screw it, just throw them in a bucket just so you guys can see these behaviors, and that way you can kind of get a little bit, but I think that's probably about as good as I can do. I mean, I can breed them too, but then honestly, it'll mess up my other waves. I could breed them and just throw the eggs out, I don't care, but just the same, I'll try and do as good of a job as I can in showing you guys all these different ways to do it. So let's just stick with the simplest one. So you're gonna do no extract in the water. We'll just go with this one because this is like the easiest mainstream start point. So you're gonna go with the 2x2 by 3 or 3, anywhere in this range, you know. Square of the Ziploc plastic bag, you're gonna do a pinch of salt, and then you're gonna grab a very nice, clean, do not wash it off. Do not wash it off, the piece of purpose is gonna sink. So you want to find the nicest shaped catappa leaf that you can find, any and all leaf, and you're gonna want to place it on top of the water. And when you do this part, make sure you're not, if it has a big chunk of stem, take it off, because that's gonna cause it to sink. So you want it to be, temporarily at least, the best boat you can have. That's the idea. If you're using a piece that's gonna, you know, last for only a couple days floating and then start to sink, it can actually start to pull down the nest as it goes. I've watched it, I've had it happen. So it's like, damn, you're going for a boat, nice leaf, that's it. Trust me anyways, by the time that boy puts all the eggs up in there, or the bubble, makes this bubble nest, that water's extract will be close enough anyway, they will not care. They'll still do their thing because you properly preconditioned them. That's key here. So it's not like you're running no extracts. They'll be perfectly fine. Parameters should be great and everything like that. But yeah, that's it. And then after that, you just let him be in there, and you take a water bottle and you can chop the top off. Just honestly, I would make sure though that the top of it is at least this much higher than the water level. Because if the female jumps out, it could go any direction. It could be that they breed and there's not a nest yet. It could be that, you know, he's trying to build a nest, but it's too late. It could be that it's kind of sloppy. So I would just not do it. Refrain. Make it so she can't jump out. You can cover her if you want. I don't think that it's necessary. I don't do it. I'm not going to get back into this stuff. Honestly, you get such a mainstream that it does not matter. You're just like, hey, go, go, go. But so you're going to put her in a water bottle. You're going to fill the water. To keep the water bottle down, you're going to want to fill the water level up a little bit past the bucket's water level. That'll keep it stationary, so you don't have to worry about it falling over. Otherwise, it can be there, but it'll teeter, get a little bit wonky on you, and she can spill out. Trust me, it happens. So you're going to put him in there. You have the leaf in there. If the leaf takes up too much space in the middle, just put her to the side. It really doesn't matter where you place her in the bucket. It could be anywhere. If you're really unlucky, your boy will choose to actually build the nest on the water bottle, in which case you just have to do the best not to destroy the entire thing. If you do, I mean, you just gotta kind of pick what you want to do, roll with it. Honestly, most times I'll just roll with it, because at that point, it's so rare anyways that I'm just like, and I have so many parents going, it doesn't really affect me that much. But let's say you're only doing one, you're probably best just trying to like start over, unless if you have enough of the nest that he can just recoup and build as he goes. But if it's like, you know, barely any nest at all, just, I wouldn't mess with it personally. like I said, there's a lot of different variables in here, but I'm trying my best to actually scrunch it all into one video. It's actually not that easy to do. The process itself, very, 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 very simple, but getting all the ways into one that you will inevitably have to learn if you're doing more than one. If you're only doing one, learn your boy, that's about it. And then call it a day. But if you plan on actually like breeding them, you're gonna go through the hoops, which is what I'm trying to narrow all the hoops down. Just the same though. So you have the boy in there, you got the plastic square, you got the leaf in there. She's in the water bottle. Water bottle size doesn't really matter anyways. She's legitimately only going to be in there until he builds his nest. Once he builds the nest and you see it, fine. Just take her. Don't put the water in her thing, because that will actually spoil faster than the other water, and you're trying not to actually contaminate the water in the bucket. So, personally what I do is I'll take a turkey baster, and when I do release the female, I'll actually turkey baster her out any poop that is on the bottom. That way you're starting from ground zero with that. Just kind of an important tip. It at least gets you on a better foot to not be messing with ammonia so fast. So, you're gonna want to release the female when he builds the nest. When you release the female, like I said, I just turkey baster the bottom really fast, and I cover it back up. I use paper, no joke, I use a piece of construction paper that's white. So sometimes I'll even just use printer paper, that's all I have. And that works. Make sure that the place that you have them is very quiet. Ideally it should have, it should be very calm and peaceful. Just let them be and do their thing. Honestly, sometimes they will pair in, minutes, literally. Sometimes they just go right to it. Done. Great. Sometimes 12 hours. Sometimes 2 days. And so what I recommend doing is do not sit there and do this whole bit. If you have one pair, the chances of you disturbing them and doing all that is kind of high. Now granted, if they're already in the mood doing their dance and stuff like that and everything else, and you got like all this other stuff going on, yeah, being like, cool, it's fine, depending on what you get a feel for. But if you're one-shot breeding and everything else like that, just leave them be. Don't sit there. I don't want to hear any of this. Oh, but the male was just... It's fine if you did your job on the preconditioning end and their environment's exactly what I'm telling you, leave it. I can say very firmly, I have only ever experienced one death. It was legitimately my fault. I heat the rooms, and I had the bucket too low on the ground, like literally on the ground, and I did not think about, well, what if that actually is like 80? And because I was just super busy and I had so many pairings going on, and usually I kept them at least like 2 feet up in the air on various things, and I had like a chest stuff. Now I'm just keeping it down here, I'll put them on. But just the same, so that 2-degree difference had the beta aggravated and they didn't want to pair. Because I didn't think of that, and I'm like, this is a little bit tricky here on their body language. Screw it. Yeah, resulted in a death. My fault. Not because I was breeding, but because I was negligent. And even as a professional, I should have thought about that. I should have known. But I just didn't think about it. But it's just, you can't always think of every little thing, but in hindsight, you understand what happened and why. So, like I said though. So, leave them be. Do not mess with them. If you have the thing set up like I'm teaching you, leave them be. If your water chemistry is good, everything is just like I teach, leave them be. I don't care what you see. Matter of fact, you shouldn't even be peeking. You should legitimately release the female, get the poop off the bottom, if there is any. Odds are there will be. So, get the poop off the bottom, cover it with paper, walk away. Walk away. As a matter of fact, I don't even recommend you to check anything for 12 hours. 12 hours, because odds are anyways, if you're going on the big picture here, nothing's really going to happen until a few hours. So, realistically, that's fine. And then I would keep checking it every 12 hours. That's it. So, past that, nothing. And body languages and stuff like that, I'm going to have to actually just video for you guys. I'm not going to sit there and try and explain it on video, because that could be quite the mess. So, people interpret things differently and all the time, and they're like, oh, and then things that they think is aggression isn't for these fish, and it just gets kind of wild there. So you should after you release the female, like I said, cover it, let them be. Don't disturb them for 12 hours. When you're checking, you're basically looking for eggs. If you're lucky, the nest, wherever they built it, is going to be somewhere that's clearly visible to you for the whole thing. And the eggs look like little white dots. If you're sitting there wondering, am I looking at eggs? You're probably not. Because the eggs, when they're in the nest, look sporadic. And on my Facebook page, I posted them. You could see them. They stick out like a sore thumb. You'll see a pattern going on, and you'll be like, oh wow, and he'll be going up and down, and she'll be sitting there trying to eat stuff off the bottom, I'm sure of it. And so that's when you just pull the female. Like I said, if you're using the plastic, the reason why I love those plastic squares floating on the top, do not use something solid because it suctions to the top. It's basically like a wall up there. They're not going to do anything with it. Don't put anything, like I said, plastic bag works. I know it. It works a lot. So past that, like I said, there is some oddball ones that, technically the plastic ones are the oddballs, but whatever. Let's just say on percentage-wise, the ones who only use the leaves are the oddballs because some of them legit just use the plastic. You can use bubble wrap and stuff like that. You can use a square of bubble wrap instead of a Ziploc bag. Once again, though, I would urge against that just because, for one, it's not needed. You don't need those air pockets. And for two, some people will say like, oh, well, since it looks like bubbles, it triggers a response. I beg to differ. No, it's just coincidence. So they bred a few pairs and they thought that worked, and then they kept doing it. But that's not. I mean, I've tried every which way. They don't care. So. Like I said, if you want to, you can, but then you can't see the eggs. And the most important thing here for you to actually be able to do is observe when you do look. So just do what's best, and like I said, just try your best to get them to where the nest is actually visible. Do still put the leaf in there, because ultimately, like I said, some of them legitimately won't use the plastic. They will never do it. But if you have them and there's a leaf, suddenly they'll do it. It's crazy. Sometimes you can't get them to make a nest for nothing. And all of a sudden, you got it up there, and they're like, oh, cool. And they're like, it's so fast. It's like immediate. Oh, look, and they'll build one. So use it. And just because you do or don't see the boys, too, when you're preconditioning them and stuff, just because you don't see him making a nest doesn't mean he's ready. Trust me. It does. It's a good indicator, but it doesn't mean anything. It's not like, ultimately it doesn't mean like, oh, I didn't do my job good enough. No. Because if you have them and put them in the bucket and you put her in that container and then he doesn't build a nest and he has a leaf to choose from, he has the plastic to choose from, if he's still not building one after 2 days, tops, then fine, yeah, separate him back out, he didn't do it, then okay. But that, honestly, that'll be pretty rare, but let's just say. What have I not covered? So we left off at pulling the female. When you do that, you're going to want to give them 3 to 5 days to hatch. You don't do anything to the boy. Don't feed him. Don't do anything. Just basically let him do his thing. Even just keep him covered. You don't need to check on it past for what looks like little pepper marks all over the place, and those will be your fry. Then when you get to, and I'm not going to get into raising fry on this one because for all of that video, I'm literally just going to make you guys pond videos right behind you guys, technically. Trust me, you're going to see a bunch of it here soon. A bunch. So, yeah, and then, so when they're free swimming and you still have them in the bucket, when you actually see them free swimming, like I said, don't feed the dad, but when you actually see them free swimming, cool, pull them out. That's it. Then I recommend, some people say start feeding right away, some people say this or that or this. Honestly, if you use infusoria and you use even like banana worms or micro worms, a little bit too large, but it's kind of just whatever. Banana worms are good. You could use those. You could use vinegar eels. Personally, I don't actually recommend that one just because, I'll be honest. It's kind of just because. It's a little bit of laziness. It's a little bit of because I just don't think there's actually any benefit to it. And it's because the way that I do it works really, really damn well. So why mess with it? Do not sit there and be worried about those very common misconceptions of like, oh, the microworms and banana worms, yes, because they're all coat-formed things. So it's like, everyone's like, oh, they'll melt off the fins and they'll cause them to be all messed up pectorals. That's absolutely not true. It's not true. It's not. What it is you're overfeeding them. They're dissolving on the bottom, turning to ammonia. The fry are resting on the bottom, and they get burnt from the ammonia. That's what it is. Which also means that your water quality was not like it should be. Because if it was, that ammonia would not have any toxic, no effect on them. None. Very little. Not like that. It could still build up to where it can kill them, sure, but it's not going to sit there and melt off their pectorals and, get all that bacterial, they all die. It can be a mess. But just the same, that's all I recommend doing. Every other aspect to this that you're going to see, I'm going to show you guys all firsthand rather than making a video like this. I just wanted to make this video so you guys could actually have it, hear me as if I was talking to you on the phone, basically as close as possible, because I do that. As a matter of fact, when I hang up this, when I end this video, I am most likely going to it'll be time for me to make a phone call to someone here locally that's trying to breed as well. And rather than sitting there messaging all day on the phone, I just figured, hey, just make me a phone call, because I still have to upload this and it takes hours. So, but yeah, I would say just wait 3 days. Nothing's going to be problematic for you on that end, because they're just absorbing their yolk sac. If you feed them before that, then legitimately most of the food's just going to go to the bottom and waste, because they don't even have they're not even functionally eating yet. They're still, like I said, absorbing the yolk and developing the rest of the way so they can eat. So, obviously your larger ones are going to start eating. And that can be good. You want to start feeding them as soon as possible, but it can also be bad, because if they're getting those first meals, I'm telling you right now, they grow so rapid on their first meals. But then what that does is it makes an even larger barrier for you. So the ones that were big and further developed, and it's not that you're, save the runts. Don't save the runts. But the thing is those ones aren't runts. They just took longer to hatch. That's it. Because legitimately, sometimes it takes up to 2 days for all of them to hatch. It's because some of them are just stubborn, but they all hatch. So eggs should start hatching, and you're looking for the pepper thing anywhere from 3 to 5 days on average. I have actually, no joke, I've had them hatch in 2 days, but so 3 to 5 days, roughly. If by day 6 you're not seeing fry, something happened and it went wrong. Like I said, the fry just looked like little pepper spots. I think I've honestly covered the bulk of this. If you're going to use, let's say you have the bucket with practically when you're preconditioning, you put 3.5. When you're not, it should be realistically probably about 2 gallons. But only do small drops and small amounts. We're talking it's very small. You're better to just inch it than to try and slam it, because that first window of time, getting them to even be 3 weeks old is for most people, good luck. Good luck. We'll see if you did it. Ooh, yeah. Most of them don't. But that being said, just slow and steady with betas wins the race. Fast does not. Fast equates to slop, death, all sorts of bad stuff. And if your betas just aren't really feeling it, take a back seat, put them back, go again. But key is just stay relaxed. This is a very easy process, guys. I know it sounds like a lot in here because there's so many different variables that you will run into, but in the end, it's actually pretty easy. So another thing is too, like I said, you'll learn the methods, because not all of them are going to want to behave the exact same, but there is certainly a massive consistency in body language and stuff like that. So, that's something that's learned. I'll make some videos and show you guys. I'll do my best to kind of put the educational stuff there. I am actually going to stay out of genetics unless if you're coming to me to buy fish. If you're coming to me to buy fish, then I'll actually tell you how to get success right off the damn bat. Anyone, and I say this very firmly, anyone who has bred betas from me and been serious enough to actually succeed has produced what I told them. Even if it was breed these, you're going to get some slop at first, and your next generation is going to give you what you want, because let's just say that they wanted to do a specific crossbreed, and they still get the success that pulls out of the genetics they couldn't see right there. So, like I said, it's really not, you know, like this is all I do all day long. I'm always working with overseas. You know, very, very heavily involved in this, always testing things, but legitimately the breeding process is actually very easy. Preconditioning, extra extracts, power feeding, make sure your temp is correct, keep them kind of covered, barely any light, 2-3 weeks, and that's it. Then move them to the bucket. The bucket has, you know, like I said, like ultimately you can do the extract in only plastic bag. Depends on the boy. If you have males, like let's say that you try the bucket and you have the leaf and the plastic and he ignores, you know, one or the other, then you can just adjust to that the next time. Because maybe that one maybe they didn't succeed, or maybe you failed, or maybe, you know, something that can happen. It's an assumed risk that you pretty much necessarily at first need to make, because I just find on odds that your success is going to be greater if you at least start there rather than starting on another point and then moving to it. But technically the leaves being in there, even for that, can be bad. And the reason for that is the leaf itself can actually rot out the eggs. So it both protects it and it can also do bad. And that's, just like I said in the extract videos that I have too, it's the same concept. They can do good, but they also still do bad, just like a filter. It could do good. It could also annihilate your whole tank. Like, substrate could be, theoretically, in fairyland, okay, or it can be a ticking time bomb. Either way. But you don't decide, you know, it's just like, so you gotta know when to hold them, know when to pull them, pretty much. So, anyways, I hope you guys found this video kind of, you know, even if it's all mixed up, it still answers so many questions for you guys. Like, and it's not like, you know, those of you who follow me on Facebook, you already know I got success on this site. It's not, it's very easy. It's not, it's like, it's simple. It's simple. It's not rocket science. So it's okay to make some bumps, bruises, and mistakes as you're going along, but in all honesty, once you've been doing it, it's actually super easy. You know, get into the water, you got your extracts, leaf, bag, her in a container, fill her container, you know, about 2 inches or so above the water line in the bucket, let him build the nest, release her, watch for, you know, for the eggs in the nest. Hopefully he builds it somewhere where you can see them. If not, that's where it gets a little tricky. I'll have to make a video of, like, what that would look like. There's no way for me to explain it to you guys. Because I could also tell you guys, because the difference in body language, because I can tell you, he'll be chasing her away from the nest and defending it, and she'll be all, like, sucked up to the side and, like, you know, fins all tight to the body, like, oh God, oh God, oh God. But in reality, too, he could still be also working her up, in which case he'll let her stay there and he'll keep doing his little dance under the nest, and eventually she'll slowly come up and then he'll kind of work her into the mood a little bit. So that's what I'm saying here. Like, that aspect gets a little bit way too hard to explain. So you gotta just see it. Even then, you really gotta understand what you're looking at. Body language wise. It's actually the same way though that I am really good at sorority as well, and temperaments and stuff like that. I can look at one and be like, yes, no, that's not going to work, that might work, no, and that, like I said, that just comes with experience. Lots of you guys already know that will be watching this. I can't even count how many thousands of these I have, like, legitimately, it's like air. So, you do get really fast at it. As a matter of fact, I've even increased my abilities with sorority stuff drastically. I had excellent success before, but my process of elimination and everything like that is so quick now that I actually ended up learning, and percentage-wise on, like, statistically speaking, sorry, this has nothing to do with whatever though, that you're better off just taking the top 10% and just scrapping it. No good. All the other ones are workable. So if you take that, and that is what I'll actually be, like, post and sell, and you'll see me doing all that. And that's why I've changed my process so much, because I have refined this down to, I mean, ridiculous levels sorority is my jam. Breeding is very easy. I'm very good at it. Yes, that being said, do I really care? Like, I love breeding animals, I love genetics, I love raising them, all of this stuff, but ultimately, on the sales side of things, sorority is my jam. It's always been. I was like, oh, these males are cool, but oh, look at this. This is much more interactive. Not too hot on them. Like, yeah, those are, I basically view them as a piece of genetics. That's it. But, gorgeous, that's it. So are the girls. You're just a genetic. But, anyways, though, that's it. I know it's kind of scrambled. It's all on here, though. And, you know, like I said, if you guys, in other videos, if you guys have any questions that are not answered right here, that are reasonable to actually answer versus that requires like a video, or simply it's just something you have to experience based on filling in the gaps with what I teach, because sometimes, unless, if you only know hands-on, because it's something you have to see, and there's too many things, like, I mean, even body languages for breeding even, I can show you guys, and I will show you ample examples, but in reality here, those are things that there's like a billion side notes on that you just have to learn. But at least if I point out the biggest ones for you guys, like the main bread and butter, and even like failure language, then you can see, okay, so these are the main ones I'm watching for. And like I said, I mean, I want to see you guys succeed in this. I mean, I dump a lot of time. Some of you guys, you know, you might, that don't know me on Facebook might be like, oh, well, this guy says he's going to do all this stuff, and then he's just gone for a long time. That's because I literally work with thousands. This is no underestimation. I work with thousands of people online on Facebook and Messenger. I work with people that aren't even, like, they literally just hop on Messenger and only message me, and then that's it. I work with people here, even locally, that aren't even on Facebook, but they'll text message. I work on phone calls. I work email. Some people only send email. It's a lot to deal with, and that's fine, but it does take a pretty, you know, large, it's all you're doing all day long. So at the end of the day, sometimes too, if I'm having to upload videos, which is fine, but can I take that time at that time period and dedicate it with internet being slow because of upload? Yes or no? And the answer is most oftentimes no. So, because I need that, I can't afford to have that lag time. Today I'm actually going to use most of this day getting you guys more videos for on here. I have one phone call that I have to make. I did on my local meetups and stuff earlier yesterday. So today, what on purposefully, I mixed in roadie water. I've already done all my maintenance and stuff like that, and I'm perfectly fine. I'll start the koi water change here. Once they're done, finish on this, I'm power feeding it. But yeah, and then that's pretty much it. So I'll just be making videos. I'm hoping that I can get at least 5 more videos up today. I'd be pretty happy about it. I'll do my best, but I have to also bounce back on social media. This is social media, you get what I'm saying. Bounce back on Facebook and everything else, answer everyone there, then bounce back here to make sure that I'm not leaving anyone behind, because there's a lot of people, some people are like doing all sorts of projects with me, and because I'm helping them go through and fix whatever it was, or getting them ready so that they can order, you know, all sorts of stuff. So, anyways, I hope you guys have a good day. I hope this answered you. The feeding process, realistically, like I said, you're going to want to, once you see free swimming fry, you're getting the male out, you're feeding, you're not going to feed for 3 days, then you're going to feed very small amounts. We're talking like for you know, very dense populated infusoria, 2 drops. 2 drops twice a day in that bucket, that's it. For your banana worms, if that's what you're using, we're talking like about the amount that you would scoop up on the tip of a toothpick if it was flattened, but not all the way flat, so it's not building along the main shaft of the toothpick, only the rounded portion. That's the best way that I can tell you. It would be a safe amount, and you're going to only feed that once for the first little bit. You legitimately are going to have to learn, though, where that line is depending on spawn size. So I would love to help you guys on that, but that is literally something you have to. But the amounts that I said, if you're looking at a spawn that's roughly 200 to 300, it should honestly be 300 minimum. You're doing it like I. So if you're doing that, just use that, get them to where your ammonia level, so you don't touch the bucket, I'll throw this in there. Don't touch the bucket until you are reading on use the sticks, the API ones for ammonia detection, and every day you're gonna squish it. In the middle of the day, don't do night or any of that stuff because temperature too, and just squish it in there. If you have any variable at all on the outside, I don't, just middle of the day. I found that that's always like probably the most accurate time you could be doing it. So including for like font, anything. Just the same though, test the ammonia. When you see it get past 0.25, get them out. Don't water change the bucket, get them out. And the way that I would recommend getting them out is, you know, if you're using roadie water, kudos on you, and then just move them over. Don't sit there and lollygag around because you're trying to sit there and, you know, finagle around all this stuff is going to cause more harm than good. Just move them over. Move them over. If all the conditions are the same, move them over. It can even be 2 degrees, 3 degrees. You know, with this roadie water, I can legit have like, you know, good 3, 5 degrees even one time. Difference in the water, they didn't even care. You know why? Because this water has 0 toxins, 0 salt, no dechlorinators in it, nothing. It's just straight water. They are fine. They transfer over, they all live, they don't even care. Legitimately, the bulk of all the problems anyone could possibly experience, even in Bettas as a whole, legitimately comes from their damn tap water. And then the chemicals that they try and use and process things that they think are going to fix the issue on paper, but in reality for the beta actually just kill them. Cause them internal issues, all sorts of things, and then they just die. That's the bulk of it. So best thing you could do also if you're going to breed, or even not in my opinion, is legit just go get roadie water. Don't mess around with this, you know, BS with tap water. Legitimately don't. Or well water. That's a mess. Anyways, I hope you guys have a good day. Did the best that I could for you guys on this video. I know it's a little bit sloppy and everything, but even though it's a very refined topic, it's also a fairly large topic. But I did want to put this here because I still think everything that I have mentioned in this video is definitely worth taking note on. And even the topics that I did not over elaborate on because they're side ones that you guys would have to adjust to, it still puts the idea in your head because those are still viable options and things to ask. And if you do get to the point where you're like, hey, you mentioned this, what were you saying? Because I already tried the other one. And then I can go and, you know, help you on some side stuff, and it will be really easy for me to explain for you after this video. I hope you guys all have a good day, and I will work on the next one.